Democrats are silent on that anti-police violence, deafeningly silent. Multiple lawmakers ignoring Fox's request for any comment. Critics lighting up a CNN guest for this take.
There's a real blurring of the lines in the use of the word violence. Is property destruction violence? To some people, it certainly is. But this idea that breaking windows or other acts of property destruction are the same as actual violence against humans it's kind of a dangerous and slippery concept.
One Twitter user right to the point with, "What a joke." Another wrote, "Violent is reserved for Republican protests." Jason Chaffetz, Fox News contributor and former Republican Utah congressman. It's hard to listen to someone describe violence on the screen as something that is anything but.
Yeah, and you know what? When they're throwing bricks and starting fires and they are creating terrorism, essentially, which is what they're charged with there in that community, guess what? There's somebody's wife or somebody's husband, maybe a dad or a son or a daughter who's going to have to go out there and protect the rest of the community to do it. So don't tell me that this is some innocent thing that, oh, it's, violence is the wrong word. Are you kidding? I'm glad they're prosecuting some of these people. They need to put some people in jail. If they will do that in a strong way, if they're able to do that, hopefully you can start to make a dent in this. But at least call it out. At least be one to say, this is fundamentally wrong. Can't we be united as Republicans and Democrats in that? But evidently not. Even this home state senator there in Georgia can't utter the words to say that this is wrong.
Look, one thing that popped into my mind was, as you see some of these Democrat mayors calling to refund the police. Let's put money back into police. Our cities are in trouble, like the mayor of New Orleans. What would you say to them after hearing what you just heard about this situation?
Well, good. Hey, look, if they're going to come around and they're going to actually start funding the police, show the community support, let the politicians, give word to the people, the first responders, that they're putting their lives on the line, but they got their backs. And it's not just the police; it's those firemen that got to show up there. It's that person who's an EMT and the ambulance that are also in harm's way. This shouldn't be. It doesn't have to be this way. You can protest. That's about as American as it gets. But when you start using violence, intimidation, and you start destroying things that are paid for by taxpayers, those people need to be taken down, prosecuted, and incarcerated.
Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens better watch himself, because those people on the ground say, oh, no, that wasn't violence, and he's saying the opposite. Wow, what a political battle. And a crime story hitting close to home. Our meteorologist, Adam Klotz, you see him on the Faulkner Focus often, with some pretty serious injuries after he was beaten up by a bunch of teenagers. The group was harassing an older man on the subway after the Giants game around 1 a.m. on Sunday. Adam tried to get them to stop, leave that man alone. Then the group turned on him and attacked Adam. He even changed subway cars, and they followed him from one car to the next. Here's Adam from this morning.
From what I know, they grabbed 3 of what I'm guessing is 7 or 8 kids, and no, they grabbed them and they didn't go anywhere. They let them go. They took their names, and I'm told they'll probably get some sort of a summons, and that might be the end of it. I want there to be something done. It's more like, why is the weather guy on the train trying to stop crime in the middle of the night? Like, where is Eric Adams? Where's the city? Why am I doing this? Right. But why is it up to me?
Jason, why?
He shouldn't have had to go through that. But, knowing Adam, like you and I do, he's the kind of guy that would actually jump in there and try to help somebody. I'm glad he did. But I don't want to see anybody hurt. And the lack of police presence, the lack of video, and the lack of prosecutions. Again, these teenagers know they may get detained for a few minutes, but they're going to be back on the street doing the same thing.
Adam and I spoke briefly in the hallway this morning, and he said, look, I count on the parents to do something more. He said police contacted all the parents that they could find. They could only get one to possibly go in and talk with him. I mean, these kids were young, 15. All right, we'll move on. The president, moments ago, returning from his Rehoboth beach house, said, "I'll talk to you later," in response to reporters' questions on the document scandal after the FBI found yet more classified material at his house in Wilmington. The Wall Street Journal calling out President Biden's "I've done nothing wrong" defense.
My Corvette's in a locked garage, okay? So it's not like you're sitting out in the street. You're going to find there's nothing there. I have no regrets. I'm following what the lawyers have told me they want me to do. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no there.
He closed the book as he was saying no regrets. Did he riff that or read it? The piece goes on to say, one of President Biden's political character traits is his manifest disdain for anyone who questions his behavior or judgment. This has been on full public display since the discovery of classified documents at his office and home, and it's drawing him deeper into a political morass. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is pushing for a new law. Well, we'll move to that in a second. First of all, your response.
For the president to say there's no there is fundamentally wrong. They were there, and they were over there, and they were over there, and they were over there. And so don't tell us there's no there. They were everywhere. That's the problem, Mr. President. And why is he taking direction from his attorneys? He's the president of the United States. How come he isn't saying, you know what, I want the Department of Justice to get to the bottom of this? You got some unnamed attorney calling the shots? Who's in charge, Mr. President?
But you know
and if you did take this seriously, well, yeah, but if you took it seriously...
Them. He's paying those personal attorneys. Yeah, that's why we didn't know about this until days ago, what happened in November.
Do they have a security clearance? I mean,
that's a great question.
These so many questions. There's so many questions.
Yeah, I mean, what else does money buy you, by the way? You can buy your own set of attorneys. I guess you can't, though, keep the feds from being curious now that they want to tap that second house. They're considering the Rehoboth. But he just spent all weekend there. How messy are these houses that it takes you 12 to 13 hours to find 6 files? I mean, this is a messy president, just politically speaking and personally speaking, obviously. Stuff's everywhere.
Stuff's everywhere, and that's the problem. I think legally, the biggest problem is those that were taken when he was in the United States Senate. Senators and members of the House of Representatives cannot take documents with them. If you're in the White House, you're going to see classified documents on a, hourly basis. But if you're in the United States Senate, how do you walk out with documents? That's against the law. You sign documents as members of Congress saying you will not do this. So what are they going to do about that? They didn't do anything against Hillary Clinton. So I'm not that optimistic, but they should. And this is the problem.
Jason Chaffetz, always great to have you in focus. Good to see you. Thank you.
Hey, everyone. I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.